Paradigm. A standard model of something. A new paradigm. A cultural paradigm. An economic paradigm. A scientific paradigm. A new paradigm in technology could mean a new way of solving problems. Consensus. Agreement among all the people involved. A scientific consensus. A cross-party consensus. A broad consensus. A general consensus. There is a consensus among scientists about the catastrophe of climatic events. Sovereign. Possessing supreme or ultimate power. A sovereign nation. A sovereign state. A sovereign government. A sovereign society. It is believed that Greece was the sovereign power of ancient culture. Accumulate. To collect or increase something gradually. Accumulate wealth. Accumulate debt. Accumulate wisdom. Accumulate knowledge. Researchers accumulated new ecological information that had not been previously reported. Tentative. Pertaining to a trial, not certain. A tentative agreement. A tentative settlement. A tentative conclusion. A tentative theory. The company made a tentative arrangement to support the local wildlife. Arbitrary. Decided or arranged without any reason. An arbitrary arrest. An arbitrary imprisonment. An arbitrary execution. An arbitrary deadline. Although arbitrary arrests are unlawful, they continue to occur in many communities. Intrinsic. Essential qualities or features. Intrinsic value. Intrinsic worth. Intrinsic merit. Intrinsic importance. These types of jobs are repetitive, lengthy, and lack any intrinsic interest. Abundant. Existing or available in large quantities. Abundant resources. Abundant supply. Abundant evidence. Abundant crops. Australia produces abundant quantities and nearly all varieties of fruits. Adhere. To attach firmly to something, usually. Adhere to beliefs. Adhere to ideals. Adhere to principle. Adhere to standards. All members of the association adhere to a strict code of practice. Safeguard. Protect from harm or damage. A legal safeguard. An adequate safeguard. An appropriate safeguard. An environmental safeguard. There are many safeguards built into the system to prevent fraud. Indigenous. Originating naturally in a particular place. Indigenous community. Indigenous people. Indigenous language. Indigenous culture. In this region, the most indigenous inhabitants are the American Indians. Medieval. Connected with the Middle Ages. A medieval castle. A medieval fortress. A medieval church. A medieval knight. India has considerable medieval and modern literature in various languages. Pressing. Urgent or needing to be dealt with immediately. A pressing issue. A pressing concern. A pressing problem. A pressing question. Racial discrimination has become a pressing issue in our contemporary society. Vivid. Producing powerful feelings or clear images. A vivid description. A vivid portrait. A vivid imagery. A vivid recollection. The scientist used vivid examples in the illustration of his innovative theory. Status quo. The existing situation or condition. Maintain the status quo. Support the status quo. Change the status quo. Threaten the status quo. Environmental conservation generally works in favor of maintaining the status quo. Volatile. Likely to change suddenly and unexpectedly. A volatile market. A volatile economy. A volatile situation. A volatile region. Sending the police inside will only make the hostage situation more volatile. Ideology. A set of ideas, beliefs, and attitudes. A political ideology. A religious ideology. A secular ideology. A liberal ideology. The party's guidelines were based on prejudice rather than on any coherent ideology. Acute. Sharp or severe effect. Acute pain. Acute symptoms. Acute illness. Acute infection. Animals use night vision and an acute sense of hearing to find prey in the dark. Protocol. An official set of procedures. A wireless protocol. An Internet protocol. An encryption protocol. A network protocol. At this time, only a few nations have formally sanctioned the Kyoto Protocol. Compilation. Something collected or compiled. A compilation of songs. A compilation of rituals. A compilation of data. A compilation of photographs. This is a compilation of ritual and spiritual and had a profound influence on Muslim life. Feminine. Pertaining to the female gender. A feminine trait. A feminine attribute. A feminine ideal. A feminine role. A prominent characteristic of the feminine psyche is to seek approval from others. Flawed. Having a defect or imperfection. A flawed premise. A flawed assumption. A flawed logic. A flawed reasoning. These applications are flawed and will not achieve the aim of sustainable development. Convincing. Appearing worthy of belief. A convincing argument. A convincing explanation. A convincing theory. A convincing evidence. There is convincing evidence of a link between exposure to the sun and skin cancer. Formulate. Putting together different parts. Formulate a strategy. Formulate a policy. Formulate a hypothesis. Formulate a theory. The government needs to formulate new strategies to combat crime. Distortion. To change the appearance, sound, or shape. Distortion of the truth. Distortion of the history. Distortion of the facts. Distortion of the image. Their account of the incident was a grotesque distortion of the truth. Abide by. To accept or act according to a law. Abide by a rule. Abide by a law. Abide by a restriction. Abide by an agreement. Teens need to learn safe driving skills and abide by the traffic rules. Evidence. To prove something is true or not true. Eyewitness evidence. Compelling evidence. Conflicting evidence. Forensic evidence. They have enough evidence to substantiate the allegations against him. Acknowledgment. Acceptance of the truth or existence of something. Formal acknowledgment. Generous acknowledgment. Public acknowledgment. Sincere acknowledgment. We are still waiting for some acknowledgement from our fellow academics. Mitigating. Making something less harmful and unpleasant. Mitigating factors. Mitigating actions. Mitigating measures. Mitigating circumstances. Judges often give reduced sentences where there are mitigating circumstances. Comparatively. As compared to something else. Comparatively small. Comparatively rare. Comparatively mild. Comparatively cheap. Comparatively few books have been written on artificial intelligence. Entrepreneurial. Relating to a business or endeavor. An entrepreneurial culture. An entrepreneurial spirit. An entrepreneurial mindset. An entrepreneurial venture. Entrepreneurial organizations clearly fall into the task-oriented category. Advertising. Announce publicly that something is available. Advertising agency. Advertising campaign. Advertising expenses. Advertising slogan. Nowadays, several leading creatives are involved in advertising campaigns. Fellow. A person granted funds for advanced study. Fellow academic. Fellow agent. Fellow practitioner. Fellow scientist. As a pedagogical expert, he was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society. Predominant. Present as the strongest or main element. A predominant symptom. A predominant characteristic. A predominant influence. A predominant role. Flying continues to be the predominant means of travel despite increased airfares. Decay. To become gradually damaged. Moral decay. Physical decay. Social decay. Gradual decay. Despite the decay, the castle somehow retained a profound grandeur. Constitution. Basic principles and laws of a nation. A written constitution. An old constitution. An interim constitution. A democratic constitution. Our Constitution embodies all the fundamental principles of democracy. Conventional. Usual, or traditional type. Conventional wisdom. Conventional thinking. Conventional treatment. Conventional methods. Today, patients seek to heal through both alternative medicine and conventional medicine. Resolve. To solve or end a problem. Resolve a dispute. Resolve a conflict. Resolve a crisis. Resolve an issue. Attempts are being made to resolve the problem of environmental pollution. Abortion. A deliberate termination of a human pregnancy. Abortion policy. Abortion protesters. Abortion rate. Abortion rights. There has been much dispute over the question of legalized abortion. Dense. Containing a lot of matter in a small space. A dense rainforest. A dense population. A dense crowd. A dense network. The mountains on the north coast are clothed with dense forests. Depletion. Reduction in the amount or number. The depletion of ozone layer. The depletion of resources. Soil depletion. Oxygen depletion. Increased use of water has led to the rapid depletion of groundwater reserves. Ecosystem. A complex network of environment. A marine ecosystem. A coastal ecosystem. A fragile ecosystem. A balanced ecosystem. All the creatures in an ecosystem are part of an evolutionary continuum.